Yes. Well, what I will say is this, that we're not promoting vegetarianism, right? So someone might say, oh, I thought you were. I mean, there's some people who are of a mind, they think the basic tenets of the modern day Krishna consciousness movement is reincarnation, vegetarianism, and George Harrison. And I'm not one of them, okay? So that's why you tuned in here, okay? That's on another channel. I don't know, I forgot which one it is. But, and it's been, that thing has received more than its fair share of airtime, okay? And they're still publishing that. You'll find the latest publication of a particular society will be, I saw this recently. It was like, and I couldn't tell, was this something that was printed in 1981 or 2008? But it was 2008. It had vegetarianism, reincarnation, and George Harrison. It says, that's fine. So anyway, we're not promoting vegetarianism, but something different than that. Right? And it's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Anad bhavanti bhutani. Saying the most primal aspect of life is eating, and you have to deal with this. He's saying, but just being a vegetarian doesn't solve that problem, because this is the world of exploitation, where one living being lives at the expense of another. Jivo jivasya jivanam. Right? It's the world of exploitation. So there's exploitation involved, even in vegetarianism. It's not karma-free, right? Just to be a vegetarian. There's some exploitation involved there. It's obviously to a lesser degree than other things, but still something is there. So one of our Guru Maharaj's spiritual brothers, his god brother, he is a famous scholar in Bengal, and one of his brothers came to visit him, and he took it even to another level. So when his brother was there, some issue like this came up, and he said, his name was Professor Sanyal, and he said, what to speak of vegetarians, and we don't eat. We don't even eat. And then his brother was like, huh? You don't eat? Wait a minute. Today's a feast day, and I could see there were, 64 preparations served to everyone. So many varieties of vegetables, so many varieties of cakes and sweets, and so many things. And you're sitting here telling me that you don't eat. You go, that's right, we don't eat. He said, have you lost your mind? Nope. He said, we honor prasadam. What do you mean? Well, what we take, and it is in the vegetarian category, and within vegetarian category, there are some things we find acceptable to be offered to Krishna, Krishna's devotees, Maya Shoda, his mother, Radharani Brajagopi, they know Krishna likes these things, they're offering them. And it's technically vegetarian, but he said, we honor prasadam. What is offered to Krishna, we accept the remnants of that. Right? And that's called seva, prasad seva. It's a type of spiritual practice to honor prasadam, to honor that which has been offered to Krishna. Next.
And then the boy's father is asking, how do you know your faith is not an illusion?
That's a good question. The question is, how do you know your faith is not an illusion? So the first thing I want to say is it reminds me of, Salvador Dali, the famous surrealist artist. It was Salvador Dali with the big mustache. He even had himself lifted by helicopter once. They put wires on each end, lift him off the ground or something. Dali, Salvador Dali, right? So once they asked Dali, and they said, Dali, do you believe in God? And he said, yes. And everyone was surprised because they thought he was an atheist. He said, yes, but I have no faith. And that's the case, is that intuitively, people believe in God, but they have no faith. So it is it has to do with the belief in the prospect that the infinite can make himself known to the finite. Right? This we have to grant. This is the basis of all theistic culture. Right? As Guru Maharaj told someone challenged, if the finite can know the infinite, it's not infinite. Yes, that could just be the finite's delusion. Right? They're saying God, talking about God, maybe it's just some delusion, some self-imposed delusion. Right? Just like people think they're in love. You could say, I could say to you, I don't want to embarrass you, but how do you know that you love your wife? Right? That it's not an illusion or delusion. Uh-oh. You'll have to answer that one when you get home. But as far as when it comes to how do we know our faith is not a delusion? So we get back to this point. First, let's understand the principle. Guru Maharaj's response to that man was, if the infinite cannot make itself known to the finite, then he's not infinite. So belief in this prospect, in this possibility that the infinite can make himself known to the finite, that's the culture of faith, right? Then, still, we'll say, but how do we know? Then there's revealed truth. How is the infinite making himself known to the finite? Through the scriptures, and saints who are living scriptures, or those who can extract the inner meaning of the scriptures and demonstrate to you its relevance, make its relevance palpable, tangible. Right? Still, one can be deluded. And it's mentioned in the Manu Samhita, Hridayena Binugato Yodharmasta Nibodhata. We hear from those saints. Who are they? What is their qualification? We're told in Guru Maharaj's words, they're not, apathetic to the mundane, nor interested in the mundane, in either way. Not those who are just totally rejecting the mundane, but they're either way. Nityamadvesha ragibi hridayena binugato yodharmastha nibodhata. So what you hear from a living saint, someone who is qualified to extract the inner meaning of the scripture, you hear that, it resonates in your heart, that you can accept. But then one could say, but I might be deceiving myself, and that's a fact. Right? So what you're left with is your sincerity. That if you are sincere to meet divinity, if you're sincere in your heart to establish a connection with divinity, then you can be sure that he will meet and greet you and reveal himself to you. But what it comes down to is your sincerity. If we're deceiving ourselves, then that speaks for itself.